Hi, good evening. It is Maundy Thursday. As part of our normal worship services, we are going to include this next song. But as we're not gathering in person, we still wanted to have the opportunity to share it. So before we jump into Pastor Jeff's neighborhood for a devotion, here is Grace Radke singing, being accompanied by Jennifer Ambrosier.
Hi, this is Pastor Jeff, back in my neighborhood for a quick devotional for Maundy Thursday. I'm here with my partner, Willie, and we are continuing to live life here just like everyone else, trying to stay healthy, trying to stay well, while we do our best for our neighbors. I'm coming to you tonight at the end of a lovely day from the three-season porch right here at our house on Oak Hill Court. There's a classic movie from 1993 you may have seen. It's called Groundhog Day. The movie is built around a simple concept. A man named Phil Connors, played by Bill Murray, lives through a time loop of which only he is aware. He lives Groundhog Day over and over and over again. And he wakes up every morning to the same song on the radio and the same DJ banter. At first, Phil Connors is slightly amused by the repetition, but as the film goes on, it begins to affect him. And he binges on food and alcohol, he drives recklessly, he gets arrested, because he begins to realize that nothing really matters, because whatever happens that day, he'll go to bed that night and wake up again in the morning with Sonny and Cher playing I've Got You Babe on the radio. He has the same conversation on the street with the same people every day. And he's able to take advantage of certain things that only he knows will happen. So Phil Connors learns how to play the piano, he does ice sculpture, he learns to speak French, he even tries to save a man's life after realizing that he'll have a chance to save that man's life when the day repeats itself. He could be in the right place at the right time. So let me ask you today, what if you knew exactly what would happen tomorrow? Some of you probably feel like you're living in your own personal Groundhog Day right now. And maybe it's getting a little crazy where you are. I actually relish the predictable nature of my life, but I have to admit that even for a boring homebody like me, sheltering in place is getting a little old. I eat the same breakfast, I do the same workout, I putz around the same places in my house every day. But seriously, I want you to consider this. What would you do if you knew exactly what would happen tomorrow? If you were caught in a time loop, would you bet on the Super Bowl? Or would you line it up so that you could win the lottery with just the perfect numbers? Every year on Maundy Thursday, we read a story from John chapter 13. Jesus was eating the Passover feast with his disciples. And the story says something really interesting that you may have never noticed before. It says that Jesus knew. He knew his time had come to leave this world, and knowing this, it says, he showed the people who were with him the full extent of his love. It says that God had put all things in his control, and knowing this, Jesus got up and washed his disciples' feet. He even knew that his betrayer was at the table with him. Now, this is a unique feature in the Gospel of John, that Jesus is always in control. He says things like in John 10, "No one takes my life from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have the authority to lay it down. I have the authority to pick it up again." Contrast that with Mark's portrayal of Jesus in his final moments, in which he is utterly abandoned and says from the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" But here, in John's Gospel, on the night before his betrayal and death, John says, Jesus knows. And despite the fact that he knows about Judas, about the cross, about the suffering and death that lies ahead, he still shows the full extent of his love. You know, we live in a world where opponents can't wait to learn the worst about one another. I suppose in the election cycle, we've grown used to this muckraking. And it's not just politicians who do this kind of thing, so let's not just project our worst instincts on other people. The same power dynamics reside in our work, in our parenting, in our marriages. If you know something about someone else, especially if it's something that they'd rather not have known widely, then you have power. Sometimes that power is blatant, other times it's subtle. But in John chapter 13, Jesus models true love because despite the fact that he knows so much, he still shows the full extent of his love for others. He relinquishes the power that many of us crave, and despite all that he knows, he still speaks the truth. He lives the life of a servant by washing feet. He feeds his disciples in the darkest moment. So let me ask you again, what would you do if you knew someone in your life was going to betray you? Someone in your life was going to hurt you? I have to admit that I would have a difficult time loving that person. But I'm here to remind you today that Jesus knows you. Being known may bring you comfort. It may also cause you fear, because being known is both law and gospel. But the important thing to remember is that in knowing you, Jesus offers you the full extent of his love, just as he embodied the mercy of God in service and at the meal. And then, maybe it's possible for you and me to follow Christ's example in the new mandate that he gives, that we love one another. How might you and I embody that love today while we shelter in place? How might we show an extra measure of love to people who are living an endless time loop of Groundhog Day repetition that could be wearing on us? And how might we love our neighbor, even once we know them well enough to learn that they don't deserve it? Please take time now at the end of this devotional to read John chapter 13, verse 1 through 17, and ask yourself, what did I notice? and what makes me wonder. Thank you for continuing to support Celebration. Please watch for our daily print devotions online. Good Friday worship at 6:30 p.m. Easter worship at 9 a.m. this Sunday. Reach out to our staff as you have need of us. We are available during office hours, and our work phones will be forwarded to us at our homes or wherever we are. Celebration members are caring for one another and for their community. We're making masks. We have necessities like food and toilet paper free for the taking at the end of the church driveway. And right now we are partnering with local churches to provide laundry care for Place of Hope. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is Pastor Jeff, signing off from my neighborhood. Thanks for joining me.